I'm a wealth coach, so I help people improve their personal finance.
How many clients have you helped so far in your long career?
A few hundred, maybe. I think the best thing that you need to do to kind of like help yourself reach certain financial goals is basically to.
Do you want to achieve financial success even while living abroad? Meet Jess, a multi-awarded wealth coach with over 20 years of investment experience. He began his career as a marketing professional in the Philippines before moving to Singapore, where he started to invest globally. To this day, he has helped clients in more than 25 countries grow and protect their finances. In this interview, Jess shares the most common money mistakes, proven strategies to grow and manage wealth abroad, and the practical steps to kickstart your journey to financial freedom. Let's go! Good afternoon, Kuya Jess.
Good
Thank you for your
afternoon.
time.
Thank you for inviting me, Josh. I moved to Singapore in 2007, and I'm a wealth coach. So I help people improve their personal finance. Most of my clients are high-income individuals. Basically, I help them accelerate their savings to reach their life goals, right? So whether it's retirement or children's education or any other goals, like maybe even like saving for their annual trips or deposit for their housing, those type of things. Yeah.
How many clients have you helped so far in your long career?
Wow. I never really counted. I never counted, Josh. A few hundred, maybe. The families, I would say. Yeah.
How much of a trajectory shift do you think exists between the clients that you've helped that have gone through your guidance
Uh,
and the clients that have not gone through it?
oh, okay. I would say that those who have gone through my guidance will probably have a lot more upside in terms of their efficiency of their investing and the ability to reach their goals earlier or with less volatility. I would say there are different levels of competency for a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, because in the Philippines, for example, which is where most of my client base are, right? They're coming from a Filipino background, right? So they work overseas. I think it depends on their level of financial literacy. So some people are very motivated and they've learned to build up their own wealth without maybe just self-help, but the majority typically need some guidance. The difference is quite big, especially because you need some familiarity with what's available for you, right? So for example, a lot of people probably are not so familiar that in Singapore, when you do your investments here, there's no capital gains tax, there's no dividend tax, there's no estate tax, so it's a very very efficient place to invest. This can apply to people who are based here, also people who are based in many different countries, right? So they can consolidate their wealth in Singapore if they want.
So you've helped a few hundred clients, right?
Yeah. Families.
Families.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest pitfalls that these clients fall into when it comes to achieving financial freedom?
Oh, well, I think the biggest pitfall for most people is really that they don't plan. They don't plan for their future. So it's important for you to know where your money is going instead of wondering where it went. And so I think the planning part is very, very important. And then on top of that's the execution, right? In terms of execution, it's best to be able to have a clear strategy and execute flawlessly, right? That means that you automate most of your savings, your investing as much as possible. Because a lot of people who lose money in the market is mainly because they get taken over by their emotions. We're emotional beings, right?
Yeah.
So typically, personal finance is around 80% behavior and only 20% knowledge. So the largest risk to any investment portfolio is actually the investor themselves. So I would say being able to understand themselves better would give them a better outcome.
What are the instances where emotions can ultimately take over when it comes to making these decisions?
That's really good questions. I think COVID was a time where most of the current investors have probably first experienced their large sell-off. Sell-off basically is that the market goes up and down. So sell-off it typically means that the market prices, the stock prices, for example, are going down. But most of the time it's like a more severe one in a short span of time. I think if you have plan for this and assume that there's always going to be a sell off anytime, then it's less likely for you to panic. In fact, those who have been prepared for this type of instances, normally what happens is that when there's a sell off, they will buy into the market with a long term view, right? Typically around 5 to 10 years minimum. Yeah, so that would help you increase your probability of return. Yeah, because 1 year holding period, if you're investing, right? Let's say invest in that S&P 500, chances of positive returns around 71%. It's actually quite high, right? 5 years is 87%, 10 years is around 95%, 20 years is even higher, it's almost 100%. So I think having this great ability to plan and be patient could go a very long way in achieving your goals earlier and with better results.
Why do you think that your services are important to expats in growing their wealth?
I would say that you don't know things that you don't know, right? So a lot of people maybe first come to Singapore or are not familiar with Singapore. They're unaware of what schemes are available, how they could optimize their returns or maybe reduce their taxes, right? So I would say that talking to somebody like me would help them kind of like at least know their options and maybe do some comparison with their own investments. If they're already doing very well, then maybe they can just continue, right? But if they need help, then at least they know where to get help, right? So I would say having a financial assessment if they need help would be very important. Just like going to the doctor, right? So when you go to the doctor, sometimes you think that you don't have any illness or you don't have any health condition. But after going to the doctor, then you realize there are certain things that you need to improve. Maybe take some vitamins if you're just want to strengthen yourselves, or maybe if there's an illness that you don't know, then at least you know right away, and then you can fix it. So similarly for finance, the same thing. You assess what are the areas that you need help, and then on those areas you just improve on them.
You're currently self-employed,
Yes.
so that means financial freedom
Mm.
means freedom of time as
Yes.
well. Could you explain more about how you've achieved financial freedom?
Okay, financial freedom for different people can mean differently. So some people would see financial freedom more as ability to choose to work or not to work, and they don't have to worry about money, right? I would say that there are people who are already financially free who still choose to work, right? Because it just keeps the mind active. In fact, I've seen one interview with one of Warren Buffett's company that he invested in, and the owner of this company was like, I think at that time was like 80 plus years old when he bought the company, and that lady kept on working until he was in hundreds. And then the day that she stopped working, then she died. So maybe it just tells us that it's important to keep ourselves active. Yeah, it keeps our mind active, our body active. Financial freedom, I guess, ability for you to do the things that you want in this world without having to worry about money.
I think that's never more timely, especially with the current inflation.
Mm.
Prices are going up, but at the same time, with inflation, salaries are not increasing at the rate as
Yes.
we're expecting. Have you ever advised like a Gen Z or a
Mm.
millennial like myself?
Mm.
Have you had clients like those?
Yes, yes, I do. Not many, but yes.
Picture someone who is about to graduate
Right.
college and about to enter the working world.
Mm.
What is one financial advice that you would give to them in order to build their wealth?
This one is another really good question. No, one of the main things that I discuss in our holistic financial planning is actually career planning, right? In fact, whether you are a fresh grad or already an experienced professional, career planning is very, very important. That's the engine to really build your wealth. So, but let's go to your question, which is the Gen Z and the new fresh grads, right? I think the best thing that you need to do to kind of like help yourself reach certain financial goals is basically to plan your career, find a way to increase your cash flow, right? So increasing cash flow means either increase your income, decrease your expense, or you do both, right? So to increase your income, that's kind of like almost unlimited. We can achieve that through career planning, right? So you find out like what's the career path for you if you enter certain industries. How do you get promoted? What do you need to do to have the skills and experience to be able to achieve certain positions that also pay you well and you also enjoy, right? It's very important to also choose a career that you actually enjoy, because it won't feel like work if you enjoy what you're doing. Yeah. Along with that, as you progress in your career, your income increase, and then as your income increase, I would strongly suggest that your expense also don't increase. Okay, so maybe you can increase a little bit. You reward yourself, but maybe if you have 100% increase in income, maybe you have a 20% increase on your expense, right? It's not like 100% increase for both, right? This is a big mistake for a lot of people actually, where their income increase a lot and their expense also increase a lot, right? So I think for young people, find a good job, plan it that you have an upside in terms of a career path, and hopefully that will increase your income. That would be, I would say, the number one thing. And I guess the other thing is also hopefully you get a good mentor, a good boss. That would really have a huge impact in your long term trajectory. Yeah, for your career.
You have the power to control your income through your spending and also the job that you work. But how about for passive income? What are the ways that we can earn money without having to like actively work for it?
Great question. Okay, so the role of investing is actually to do this, right? So when you first start working, it's basically you exchange time for money, and then as you progress and you have more money, then you exchange money for more money. Okay, so basically your money is working for you, right? So it's man at work, and then later on is money at work, right? So when you get to the investment side, right, there are a few ways to grow your wealth. Passive income would be, I would say that you're focusing more about income generation. So income generation, I think there are dividend funds here in Singapore where you can get somewhere between 6 to 12% a year. So it's quite high. It's not an interest; it's a dividend, right? So interest typically would be like maybe bank savings interest, right? Dividend would be more like maybe income from companies. When they make money, they have three ways to manage that, right? So either they reinvest in their own companies or for expansion, they buy back their own shares, or they distribute the income through dividends, right? So that's one way, and then the other way is through like the fixed income bond portfolios, right? So those are like it's like lending to governments and corporations, and then they give you interest. So in a dividend fund, it's usually a combined between equities and bonds, right? The stock market and the lending market, right? And that's how you generate recurring income.
To cap off this interview, you've mentioned so much about how to increase your cash flow. At the same time, this doesn't have to come at the cost of dedicating time to work,
Right.
and through passive income. For anyone, be it those who are new in their career or those seasoned, what is one way to get started with investing or just building wealth in general?
You always have to start with the basics, right? There's actually several steps to build your wealth, right? And you need to have a good foundation before you actually get to the savings and investing, right? So you first figure out how to increase your cash flow, that I mentioned earlier. After that, you build your emergency fund, right? So that's usually around 3 to 6 months of your expenses, or maybe even 8 months. Like, so with 8 months, you can stretch it to 1 year in case you need to longer time to find a job. You avoid debts, right? If you have to borrow money, maybe mortgage is fine. They definitely have to avoid consumer debt. And then one of the foundations that you need to look into is also build the proper foundation in terms of covering yourself for health, wealth, in terms of insurance, right? Insurance planning is important because if you start investing right away, right, and then market went down and then you got sick, then you end up losing more money because if you have to liquidate at a loss, right? So having the right insurance coverage is very important. Then you can invest without having to worry about needing that money in an emergency, right? So you save first, so you break it down into different buckets, right? So some monies would be for short term, and then some would be medium term, some would be long term, right? So short term would be more like what you will need in the next 1 to 3 years. Medium term is like maybe if you're gonna get married, buy a house, taking care of the children's education. Long term would be like, I don't know, maybe retirement. Yeah, retirement funding. That's kind of like a general framework of how you to kind of like plan your finance. And yeah, if you need some help, you should also look for help if you can. Like what I said, you don't know things that you don't know, right? So it's good to at least listen to other people, and if they have better ideas than you, then you can try to implement. right?
And who are these people that you would recommend that when in doubt, we should turn to these people for proper guidance in finance?
Maybe first is you find out who among your friends have good advisor if they need an advisor, right? Of course, there's some people who are what we call DIY, right? So that's do it yourself type, and they just do everything themselves. So that's also fine, right? But for people who need guidance, I call that more like a DFY, done for you, right? So if you're that type of person who needs help, guidance, or you just want to delegate everything, then you need to find somebody who you feel has enough knowledge, trustworthy, and can help grow with you as you journey through your wealth journey. I think it's important to find out what their experiences are, how they've done, what's their track record, and maybe get a little bit of feedback from other clients of that person. Is this somebody that you can trust your money for long term? Yeah.
Thank you so much for that response. Actually, when you said financial advisor, it could also mean yourself because you yourself is a financial advisor, right?
Yes.
And on that note, I just like to thank you for imparting your fruitful advice that hopefully would be of value to not just expats here, but to anyone in general, who
Yes.
be it those who are starting in their career
Yes.
or those who are seasoned professionals looking to build up their retirement. So thank you so much,
I'm Jess.
Mr. Jess.
Welcome.